When we first started looking at the AS9100 certification, I told my team exactly this. I said, we cannot just use the certification just to have it to say we can make aerospace parts. It's designed to make our organization better, improve our processes, lock them down, make sure we're tracking raw materials from the start. So these are all things that allowed us to change our processes around to make us a better company, to have a higher quality part, delivered on time, better support for our customers. These are things that actually helped us across all of our business units, not just that one area as well too. So I think that was a great opportunity for us to really grow, and I really like that it did improve us from that standpoint.
Welcome to the Machine Shop Mastery Podcast, where we uncover the stories behind successful machine shops and their owners. By interviewing current and former shop owners, we dig deep to unveil their secrets of success and the struggles and challenges they've overcome on their paths to building thriving shops. We aim to elevate how important the machining industry is and inspire others by highlighting why owning a shop can be a great vehicle to creating jobs, stimulating the economy, and creating wealth. Here's our host, former machine shop owner himself, Paul Van Meter.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of the Machine Shop Mastery Podcast. There's times where you meet somebody that just seems like a good human being, and then the more you learn about them, the more fascinating it is, and the more, in this case, I came to realize just how woven into the fabric of the machining industry my guest is. I got to sit down with Matt Schron from Jergens Inc., and as we talked and as I reflected back on my decades in the industry, I didn't quite realize how deep Jergens is in the industry. I mean, from the quick release pins, quick lock pins that were just ubiquitous in my shop all over the place, different workholding products. The fact that apparently Tooling University or Tooling U originated inside of Jergens as an internal product. Which was actually cool. And Matt shared with me after we stopped recording that he and his brother started to build this. It was called Tooling Professor, I think he said, and it was actually a little caricature of their grandfather teaching how to use Jergens workholding products, and it turned into such a big thing that they sold it off to SME, and now there's tens of thousands of people that use this program, and it originated right inside of this family business. So it's just very cool, fun conversation today. We get into everything from, the importance of standards like AS9100 to make your business actually stronger, not just something not plaque you put on the wall. We get into some really neat workforce development things that they're doing, serving, students with special needs or formerly incarcerated people to find really great employees for their company. We, of course, talk about culture as we always do. We talk about EOS and how that's had a big impact on how they run their business. And then we get in and geek out on workholding products and things like that. So anyway, it's a great conversation. I know you'll enjoy it. And without further ado, let's dig in. Matt, welcome to the Machine Shop Mastery episode.
Hey, Paul, how are you doing
Podcast.
today?
I'm good. I'm very good. I've said that enough times you think I'd be perfect at it, but nope, sometimes I screw it up. But I am excited to have you here. So you and I got to know each other and play a very fun round of golf, my very first ever, a few weeks ago at the AMT event
Yeah.
down in Florida. Shout out to AMT and maybe the importance of being involved in industry associations like that. You get to meet cool people, you get to have fun experiences, learn things. So yeah, for those listening, join those associations. But let's learn about Jergens. Let's learn about your background, the family business, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. Well, Paul, I must say I was very impressed with your golf game. I told you that earlier. You know what? Having been the first time out, it was very impressive. So I'm looking forward to joining your podcast today. So thank you very much for the opportunity to do it. I know I've been golfing since I've been young, just like in my business. But I'll tell you right
hmm
now, I embarrassed myself on that golf course for sure. But it was fun. We had a good time. We had a good laugh. So
You had way more good shots than I did, obviously, but I was proud that I think maybe twice we used my shot in the scramble that we were doing.
definitely
So
did.
I was Even if it was once, I would have been thrilled to
Yeah.
death. So it was a really fun time, and you guys were good coaches to me. So
Well, it was fun.
thank you for that.
It was enjoyable. So just to give you a little bit, kind of background on myself and Jergens. So Jergens, I'm a basically a fourth generation part of the family business. So we started in
Wow.
1942, and so we're going on 80 plus years, growing. We've got manufacturing facilities here in Cleveland, which is kind of our corporate headquarters. We have manufacturing in Chicago, Illinois, and then we have sales offices in Shanghai and in Mumbai as well too. Then we've kind of
Wow.
grown to have business development people all over the world in UK, Europe, in Mexico and Canada. And so we basically service about 50 countries worldwide, about 450 employees worldwide today as well too. And many of our best and biggest customers are the ones that listen to your podcast, Paul. It's the guys that sitting out there. They're the job shop owners, the engineers. They're running CNC machines, anywhere from a tier one aerospace guy to the small one man job shops as well too. We kind of cover that
Hmm.
that breadth and depth across the whole industry and stuff too.
Super cool. That's really neat that you're that global, I guess, and diversified in what you do. So let's go back. Obviously, early 1940s is just after the war, or right around that time. So how did the business first start?
I think it's so interesting when you talk about our business because we've come kind of really full circle. So if you go back to 1942, we were making airplane seat components for the wartime efforts. And then after
Hmm.
the war, basically, all of the different manufacturing companies that were really working or supporting the war got into making different types of job shops environments. So we
Hmm.
decided at that time to help support all those job shops. So we started making T-slot bolts, strap clamps, anything that those job shops would need to help support their manufacturing of, car parts, white goods, house building that was going
Hmm.
on, all of those types of components. We kind of help support those job shops, thinking that that might be a more of a long-term solution for us where we could have a standard component. So, I think our original message was the standard components with the highest standards, right? And
Mm.
today, if you come full circle, we've really kind of come back to the aerospace side. We now have 3 divisions of our group that we really support and promote. The workholding side, which is still the base and the foundation of who we are. And then we have also our specialty fasteners group, and they really specialize in fastening devices. And one of the areas that we have seen the biggest growth in is in the aerospace and defense markets.
Mhm.
So today, the single biggest item we produce and the highest volume item we produced are specialty fasteners for the military and aerospace markets today. So we started in the aerospace world, we went into the work holding
Mhm.
world, and now we're back into the aerospace world again, supporting it as well too. And I think that's where we've seen significant growth over the past few years, and we are projecting it to go forward for the next few years as well too.
Wow, that's very cool. When you were talking about building the standards, building the clamps, the tools, it reminded me of that, like in the gold rush days, the companies that were the most successful were the ones that made the shovels, not the ones actually searching for gold. So you
I
guys
love that analogy.
taking that playbook, yeah,
I have not used that one before. I might steal that from you, Paul. I really enjoyed that one.
absolutely,
That's exactly what it was. Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. I mean, clearly the Jergens name. I mean, I remember early in my shop days in the late '90s, Jergens was a name that, just we knew in our shop.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, these are the products that we might buy for holding parts onto our bed. So
Yeah.
it's cool to kind of have that be full circle and have you on the show now.
I appreciate that.
Paul, tell me about your trip to Italy.
I went there with the NTMA and we got to tour SMW Autoblok, two different facilities. Absolutely blew me away. World class, enormous places. I can't even count how many machines there were, but so much automation. One of the most incredible takeaways for me was the breadth of what they made. I did not know they made so many work holding products and automation products. And I loved watching a big chuck machine a little chuck. So they were machining chucks in huge lathes. I thought that was super fun.
Yeah, you introduced them to me after you came back, and they've been to my shop. And the ideas they have to like breathe new life into some of my machines and the tools and the jobs that we're running was just shocking.
And then one of the coolest things is we're bringing this new automated pallet delivery system, the Hennig WorkFlow, to market. And guess what the interface is? It's SMW 0 point locators. It's really sweet.
We're getting ready to get some of those.
So, how do people find SMW Autoblok to look through that massive catalog of products?
It's SMW Autoblok, BLOK.com.
Yeah, get rid of that C. SMW Autoblok, BLOK.com.
Yeah. So tell me maybe a little bit more of just maybe since it is so long, we can't go into too much detail, but just sort of the growth over the years um, with, what is it, your great grandparents or who, what?
Yeah,
Yeah, just
great.
different
Yeah,
generations. And
so my dad and we always joke. My dad, my great grandfather and grandfather started together, and they ran it for a few
okay.
years. That stuff, and then my dad's been running it for the past 50 years. So they always say the first generation starts it, second generation grows it, third generation kills it. My dad clearly helped us develop it. So I always joke about what does a fourth generation do? So I'm going to say we reinvent. We reinvented the fourth generation and that kind of stuff. I think that's what we're trying to do right now is reinvent, and that's where we're trying to take this business in a little different direction. And I think it's a challenge sometimes when you have a legacy of Jergens work holding and fixturing, and you're seeing these
Mm-hmm.
opportunities in the world that are different. You know, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I still think that when you look at Jergens, we still believe heavily, in the quick change fixturing, the setups. How do you improve the manufacturing within a shop? I mean, it's interesting because I think our shop is kind of one of the things that makes it unique is that we test out all of our own products within our own shop. So we're always trying
Mm-hmm.
to figure out, we promote to our customers, how do you set up more efficiently? How do you get more parts off your machine? How do you do things, lights out or unattended? And we are developing not only the products that we use internally to do that, but also the processes that we use as well too. And hopefully we're carrying that to the marketplace and helping other customers do the same thing as well too. And that's kind of our goal is to do both in our own shop,
Mm-hmm.
pioneer it, and then hopefully transition that to our customers where they can do the same thing in their facilities as well too.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's how the most relevant and best products are built out of need. And clearly, if you're using them in your own facilities, your people can provide feedback of how to make it better and how to iterate it. So that's awesome. The shift to back into aerospace. How long has that been? Was that an initiative that you are doing as part of this reinventing of the business? And was it because you saw an opportunity or and were kind of pulled in that direction by demand or yeah, like for example, one of our clients, is big. Roush Yates is big in NASCAR, right? They make all the Ford racing engines,
Yep.
but they found themselves with extra capacity in their machines, and they're like, you know what? We have everything we need to be, a fantastic contract manufacturer for industry as well. And now that I think is, the majority of their business, not the NASCAR side, and it's just grown immensely. So yeah, tell us a little bit more about that move back into aerospace and how that played out.
I think the reinvention in the aerospace side, from my standpoint, was something that kind of came out from a little bit of luck, but a little bit of also understanding the market a little bit better. So when we started looking at the market, we started getting into especially fasteners, and we were using them primarily on fixturing applications, helping to support our own fixturing designs. We got into thread repair inserts that were basically designed to help strengthen fixtures when you have bolts and subs in there. Then we started recognizing there was markets outside of where we were at and which markets were growing the fastest. And we were trying to look at those markets and say, hey, can we use our work holding and fixturing to get into them? And then we started understanding and being asked about, hey, can those parts be used for MS, NAS designs as well too? Like, yes, they can. So we started changing some of the products we had to actually meet the MS and NAS standards, the National Aerospace standards, and the military standards as well too. So then the
Hmm.
next thing we did is we actually started getting our own certifications. So we now have AS9100 certifications to help support the aerospace market. So I think it was one of those things that started small. We slowly reinvent ourselves, slowly added new understandings of the market. And then we started also adding like aerospace engineers onto our team. We started adding contract review people on our team. And it's really changed the way we're approaching some of this stuff too. So instead of just trying to go and selling them work holding, we're now going to the Airbuses of the world. We're going to the GKNs of the world. We're going to the Boeings of the world and trying to get our products specified in as an OEM manufacturer. That's a totally different approach than we've had in the past. And something that's really important for us to understand how we can support that market now too. So we've got, I think one of the nice things about it too is we've been through many different cycles over our 80 years. And this allows us to handle some of those changes and cycles as things go around too. As aerospace right now is growing up and continuing to grow, I mean, I think they're projecting 5 to 7% year over year growth in the aerospace market for the next 10 years. I
Hmm.
think the last thing I saw was over, 10,000 aircrafts are supposed to be delivered and they can't produce them fast enough. So these are all huge opportunities when we look at and evaluate the market for Jergens, saying, hey, we want to be in this market. We need to be in this market. And how do we continue to make parts for it as well, too?
Do you feel like that moving into this more specialty contract manufacturing, I'll call it, has helped you kind of mature in some of your business processes that maybe you didn't need to do as much just as making your own product line?
When we first started looking at the AS9100 certification, I told my team exactly this. I said, we cannot just use the certification just to have it to say we can make aerospace parts. It's designed to make our organization better, improve our processes, lock them down, make sure we're tracking raw materials from the start. So these are all things that allowed us to change our processes around to make us a better company, to have a higher quality part delivered on time, better support for our customers. These are things that actually helped us across all of our business units, not just that one area as well too. So I think that was a great opportunity for us to really grow, and I really like that it did improve us from that standpoint. In
Mm,
addition, Paul, I would also add the fact that, I don't think we're necessarily creating a job shop environment. What we're really doing is listening to our customers, right? And people say it all the time, but most of the best and biggest products been able to bring to market are because the customers come to us and said they've had problems with either quality, delivery, support. And they said, hey, can you guys make that for us? And we're like, yeah, we can do that. So we can help develop that solution for you. And I think that's where we really separate ourselves is saying, let me understand it. Let me understand where I can apply it. Let me now make it for you. And I think that's where we've really seen a significant growth. And we continue to do that today. And we're getting more opportunities from these customers as well, too, as a result.
that's fantastic. Yeah, a real organic way to grow. And I completely agree with you that the standard AS or ISO, whichever, is when you really lean into the solid business practices that it kind of promotes, it does make you a healthier business, a stronger business, and it's not just something to hang on the wall to get your foot in the door.
It's interesting. I was just before this meeting, I was actually on the shop floor, and we have an internal audit team that goes through our processes. We have an internal audit team that gets aligned with our work instructions so we can see where we're actually falling through. We have a check sheet we go through, and it's not just, it's myself, the vice president company, our operations manager, it's our plant manager, it's our shop supervisors, all of us sitting down there walking up to one of our employees and saying, all right, show me your work instructions. Show me where your rev level is on your prints. Show me. So we're going through all those steps together, and I think it's trying to drive that quality process and improvements throughout our organization from my level all the way down through the shop floor as well too. And it's so important to get that connection. I think, and I believe heavily in that as well too.
Yeah, walking the floor and seeing it firsthand is I think something that not a lot of shop leaders do, especially in an organization your size. So that's wonderful to hear that you guys do that.
If you're looking to increase your spindle uptime without adding any headcount, check out the Hennig WorkFlow automation system. I've seen it. I love it. It's a compact, automated pallet delivery solution that lets you work ahead of your machine so your shop never stops. You can load up to 40 pallets with material, fixtures, programs, and just let the workflow cook. A Henning workflow is designed for high mix machining, works with a wide range of machines, and even with a 125-pound payload on top of a 300 millimeter pallet, yet still takes up less space than most competitors' pallet automation system. That means more production, fewer manual changeovers, really just a practical path to high profit, lights out machining. Learn more about Hennig Workflow by visiting hennigworldwide.com/workflow.
So that maybe brings me to an element we often get to on these shows is culture and the people you employ, whether you have core values, what the culture is like in the business, and how that's evolved. And I got to believe, and I rarely get to, interview people with, 450 employees. How have you built that? How have you maintained that and evolved it over time?
Yeah. I think it always starts with the founders and the presidents and that kind of stuff, but it evolves, as you said, Paul. So, I think my grandpa was the guy who'd walk in the shop floor. He knows your name, he knows who you are, he knows everything about, where you go to school. I think we do the same kind of thing today. I mean, we've been writing and giving birthday cards to everyone in our company with $10 like your grandma used to do. So everybody's birthday still get a birthday card from us, an anniversary card from us as well too, with handwritten note that says, welcome and thank you for your efforts at Jergens as well too. But I think it goes farther than that. I think we really talk about the Jergens family and the family, and we have an acronym that we have for our core values. We took some liberties, Paul, so stick with me here. We call it the solve culture, right? So we took letters from the different words that really describe our values, and it starts with
Okay.
customer focus at the bottom. So we're gonna say customer focus is where we start with. It's kind of the foundation, kind of like when you're building or fixture components. It's the vise or the fixture plate you're building in the foundation of your machining, right? It's that
Yep.
foundation. So everything starts with a customer focus. Then we go up to the next thing, which is results driven and results driven saying, hey, we want employees that understand that we have to drive towards results. You need to have something that you're trying to strive to get better at and improve, which leads to the next one, which is a desire to learn and grow. We want people that want to come in here and have a desire to learn and grow. We don't want to be stagnant as an organization, and we don't want employees that are stagnant with us as well too. Next one is passion. So we want passion for our customers, passion for our people, passion for our industry and manufacturing. And then finally, we have family. It's Jurgen's family. And when we talk to Jurgen's family, we're not just talking about, the Schron family. We're not just talking about our employees. We're talking about the community that we serve, the manufacturing community around here. We're trying to support all the manufacturing communities around us as well too. We're trying to support the local community around Cleveland, Ohio, and Jergens. These are all parts of what we're trying to do and grow and be a part of. So that's kind of what Jergens looks for when we have that solve culture and that Jergens family we built as well too.
Hmm. I love that. Yeah, before we hit record, I was telling you that I'm putting the finishing touches on my book, and this concept of a precision machining business that is sort of foundational in the economy because it is so supportive of every other thing in the world. And the fact that you make, you know, uh, work holding products for other machine shops is maybe even more virtuous, so they can do their jobs better. But it is those types of businesses are just so important for local communities, for building a strong fabric of other small businesses that can serve those communities, people with good jobs that are buying houses and cars and going to the grocery store. And it's just so virtuous when it's done well. And it sure sounds like, I mean, you can't be doing it for 80 plus years if you're not doing it well. So,
Well,
so kudos to you and your family
thank you.
for being a critical part of, of both the industry and the community and your community as well.
I,
So
I, I
that's
I think
awesome.
that's the important thing. I know one of the things you've talked about in your other podcasts is what is it like to grow profitably. I mean, again, Jurgens is one of those companies that we always look to say, hey, the profits we reinvest in our own business, right? We're trying to reinvest in our business. That's the goal of what we're trying to do. Is as we reinvest, it allows us to hire more people. We bring more people on. Have new products. We have new markets we can enter. These are all things that we have the opportunity to reinvest,
Hmm.
and that's part of that Jurgens family and the community we're
Hmm.
trying to build outside of just inside the four walls of our buildings that we have.
Hmm. Hmm. So, uh, trying to find enough people at your scale to grow has got to be a monumental effort. I'm sure you have do many things in the realm of workforce development, but just maybe share with us some of the things that you guys are doing.
Yeah, I think from our workforce development, we do the traditional things that you hear about in the marketplace. We're reaching out to the trade schools, the local high schools, the local universities. We do a lot of different types of internship programs with local universities to come in here and try to attract engineers into our team. But I think the more interesting things that we do is kind of some of the non-traditional ways we try to find employees. For example, we have what we call our CVAC program, which reaches out to local high schools, and these high schools are special needs kids that are looking for opportunities, maybe need some help in the development of where and how to be in a business environment. So we'll take them
Hmm.
in. They'll spend half of their day in one of our meeting rooms with one of their teachers, talking about how to act in a business, how to act in an office environment, how to act on a job, showing up on time, being responsive, you know. But then the second half of their day will be spent either maybe on our shop floor helping us with assemblies, maybe in the mailroom, helping deliver mail, maybe on a computer, helping to do some spreadsheet work for us. So it's a great way for us to take some special needs kids and have them find opportunities. After college, we've actually hired probably a handful of them as well too to come work for us full time. So it's been a great opportunity, and you see these families and the mothers and dads who have the opportunity to see their kids move into a real full long term environment have been amazing and that kind of stuff.
Mm.
In addition
Oh,
to
that's
that,
so good.
in addition to that, we've also worked with an access program, which is previously incarcerated people who are also
Okay.
looking for work, who maybe need something to help get their job started again. You know, they maybe had these are nonviolent criminals who are looking for opportunities coming out of incarceration, and it's been a great opportunity for us to bring them into our environment, help train them and develop them, and I'll tell you right now, we've got a number of people that are working side by side, many of our traditional employees, and it's been a great win-win for them and for us as an organization as well too. So I think I would just
Mm.
challenge everyone that's listening to you to say, "Hey, where else can we find non-traditional employees?" Because it's so important for us to find these individuals, get them into our environment, and then that just continues to build the community around us as well too, which is also one of our core values we're trying to work on as well.
Mm. Oh, that's so great. Do you have any examples, whether you name them or not, of like someone that's been with you a long time that's maybe came in through one of those non-traditional methods and is now having a real impact in the business today?
So we have a couple individuals I would talk to, and I hate to use names because I don't want
Sure, of course.
but I would say that we've got people who've come into us and worked for us for. We've had one individual came in, worked with us, grew up with us, and went from all the way from an assembler to moving into working in different roles and setups for us. I also have one individual who started with us in just a material handler role and has now moved up to a CNC machinist role for us. So you're seeing them develop from material handling position. They moved then from the material handling position into maybe an assembly role. And they went from an assembly role, now they're doing a CNC machine. And you're seeing them really develop and grow. And now you can see the way they've impacted their life, our business, and hopefully their whole family as well too. So it's been great to see. And hopefully that paycheck they're getting helps them to stay focused and grow themselves personally and also now professionally. They're a great asset to our organization.
That's so great. So, as you've grown, you've clearly got to a size that, most shops will never get to, but can you talk about some of the thresholds with which you had to kind of reinvent the org chart or just the way you manage KPIs and make sure that, you're being effective at all levels of the business? Because I know many companies will hit up against a threshold where they were used to be doing something one way. They used to have a particular type of reporting structure or org chart, and that that's that structure will not get them to the next level, and it kind of requires a reinvention of how you do things. Maybe talk a little bit about the things you've done over the years.
Yeah, so I would say our business continues to evolve and change. I mean, even from the standpoint of our own company ownership, and I'll maybe take a step back and tell you about that a little bit. When we've
Yeah.
developed and grown some businesses, we started. We used to have an industrial supply shop that I ran for 15 years. That got to a point where we grew it from small $5 million division to up to about $35 million division. We sold it off, and it was a way to pay off from a family business, my aunt. So we paid off my aunt, and so we can now help transition the business to the fourth generation like myself as well too. So that's been a huge change. At the same token too, we've also developed Tooling University, which grew up inside Jergens. We sold that off, and now my brother still runs that over at SME. So that
I
started
didn't
here.
realize you guys created that.
Yeah, my brother
Really?
started as a summer intern and worked on it,
Wow.
and he's still over there working at it today. So yeah, we started. So there's been a number of different areas where we've invested in the manufacturing community and the training community and helped develop things as well too. So I think those are all reinventions we've made over the years at Jergens.
Mhm.
I'll tell you the most recent one that we've done just from a process standpoint is that we've actually really invested in EOS and it's the enterprise operating system traction. I think that's really
Mhm.
helped us to keep a common language, common format, so we can talk across the organization about different ways. We know what a level 10 meeting is when we talk about it. We all show up on time, ready to go. We have a really clear VTO or vision traction organizer, which allows us to know where we're going. It has that long term 3 year picture, which kind of describes, hey, here are some things where we want to be in the future in that 3 years. Doesn't actually say exactly how you're gonna get there because it's a picture. It's still being developed. You're
Mhm.
still working towards it, right? Then we have a 1 year plan we put together, and I think it really helps us then at that point drive to those 90-day rocks, which are the ones things you're trying to churn through on a regular basis and be and finish off as well too. So I think that's
Mhm.
been the major developments for us. And right now we're going through another one. I mean, with the different business units we have between our lifting group, especially fasteners group and our workloading group, we're talking about maybe separating those off into their own business units again. So it's like, how do you have maybe business units that you have that now again, new opportunities for people, potentially new leaders running each one of those groups, new setups and all that kind of stuff. So I think you always have to figure out ways to reinvent yourself and grow. And that's the kind of things we're working on right now as well, too.
Hmm. That's interesting. Yeah, I've definitely talked to a number of folks that have really leaned into the EOS operating system, and it sure seems like you know, I mean, obviously it's wildly popular for a reason. So, when did you guys make that transition into that?
We started doing that about 10 years ago, I would say. I
Okay.
started really utilizing it. It's interesting. My first goal was I was trying to help myself run a better meeting. That's what I was looking for. Is how do I make a better meeting? And that's when I uncovered the whole EOS idea and process. And I was like, this whole thing, this business process is something that really I think our organization could benefit from. And I think this is where we started trying to develop it. We hired an implementer to help us go through it the first few years. And I think the goal of that implementer was always to graduate us. And we
Mm.
graduated. I'm not too sure if we graduated with flying colors or they just wanted to kick us out, but I'm pretty happy with where we're at today. And they did a great job of helping develop us.
Can you, for those that aren't as familiar, can you just describe a little bit of like what it did do for change in the business in terms of just being organized or having this more common vision?
Yeah.
What was the biggest impact for you guys?
I think the biggest impact for us was trying to sit down there and say, all right, hey, what is and how do we actually what do we want to be when we grow up? I guess is the best way of saying it. So when we grow up, what is it that we want to do? So help give us some of that top line, hey, where are we trying to grow to? Where do we want to be when we grow up? And I think we always had some goals and some subs, but it wasn't necessarily a regular cadence to it. So now we have quarterly meetings. We know when we structure them. We sit down. What's going to happen? I think it's a common language across the organization, which I think is a huge thing for us. So instead of when you show up to a meeting, it's the same agenda over and over again. So that same agenda, when you walk in, you're prepared for it, you know what's going to be happening. So it's not like you're walking into these meetings not knowing what to do. I think it also allows us at that point to have what they call cascading messages up and down the organization as well too, so we can communicate across the organization easier. And I think again, we have in our organization we have a map basically that lists out. We have mountain peaks, and it shows basically what our 5-year goal is. It has a 3-year picture right listed on the actual situation, and then we have a 1-year, plan that we kinda list out all over the organization, so anybody can see it. It's listed right in front of people, and then we try now the next big milestone for us we're trying to connect back with is how do we connect those individual goals back to individual contributors so that now they can really understand, "Hey, why is it important for me to make this many parts in this day or this week?" So how it aligns back with that top level mission we're
Mm.
trying to create. We're still working through that, but I think we're getting closer and closer in some of the areas, and that's a big goal for us right now to build towards that level as well too.
Hmm. Wow, that's cool. And you've been doing it for 10 years. This is not an overnight thing you just plug in.
It
It
it it takes you a few years, and again, there are challenges along the way. I'm telling you right now, we lost a few people because they didn't wanna be, and I think, held accountable, right? This is really puts accountability within your organization as well too, and I think the accountability is so important, and I think it really because when you walk in, I mean, I'm feel like I'm doing an EOS implementation here, you know what I mean? But they tell you your rocks, you need to complete 80% of them on time. And if you're not completing them, you have to tell people why or what happened, right? Every week you have weekly to-dos that are driving towards completing those rocks. And if you walk in week after week and say I didn't complete them, it's really evident and obvious that you're the one not getting your stuff completed and pushing the actual business or your business unit forward as well too. So I think it's great opportunities
mm,
for you to really drive that accountability within your organization as well too, through the EOS model and setup.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's not a commercial for EOS, but I think these principles of having strong accountability and as it relates to sort of alignment on a greater long-term vision, and we know that employees these days want to feel part of a mission. They want to feel like they're contributing to something meaningful and important. And the most engaged employees do feel that, and hopefully they can see for themselves how that contributes to their daily tasks and work. But I can also imagine, certainly at a company your scale, uh, that's got to be a really intentional thing to drive that down to the daily level.
It's one of those things I think that you're fighting for every day. Every time you come in, it's interesting. I always try to figure out ways in which we can do a better job of it, right? I was just telling my HR manager just this month that I want to have a new employee lunch where every new employee that comes through, I sit down with them and go through all the
Mm,
different EOS structures, values, setups. Because I think it's important to, how you're onboarding people, how you're bringing on. Do they really understand the core values and structures you're trying to build? Because that day one is such a, I think, impactful day when you go through there. And if you can really lock them in and help to support them, I mean, we have some employees here that have been with us 50 plus years, 40 plus years, and I think I'm trying to find more and more employees that can stick around for us that same long time as well too. And hopefully we can
mhm.
find more of them. But I think that really helps communicate that upfront when they first start with you as well too.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So, as you've grown over the years, I'm sure you've faced many hurdles as a business. Every business has ups and downs. What are some of the biggest challenges you guys have overcome in the past, and maybe what are you kind of working on today that requires concerted effort to get better at?
Yeah, I think from my standpoint, the thing that I would say is, we've seen ups and downs in business, but I'll tell you, even in downtimes, Jergens was always reinvesting in our own business. I can remember during the Great Recession a few years back, what we did during that time was we actually added more inventory. We wanted to make sure we were positioning ourselves for the recovery when it came around as well too. And I think those are things that you have to do when you're in the downturn or when you're in the growth cycles. Like right now, we're trying to find how do we launch new products? How do we get new products to market faster? How do we develop them quicker, right? What evaluation techniques and steps do we do to make sure that as we're finding or evaluating these products, are they the right ones for the market? Are they the right ones our customers are asking for? So we're measuring what is the impact to the business? What is the risk level for the business? What are the opportunities for it from a sales standpoint? We're really trying to evaluate that thing as well too. So I think there's another number of challenges right there. I think right now, one of the things we're trying to work on is figuring out, we talked earlier about how Jurgens constantly tries to reinvest in find new opportunities, especially in our own shop. And right now we're working on automation. How can we help companies with automation? And I say automation, but I really wanted to talk about machine tending because I'm a big believer. I think sometimes people hear the word automation, they get scared, they get intimidated, they think immediately jump to a robot jumping and picking apart out of a vice or whatever it may be. There's so many more ways to automate or have machine tending because at the end of the day, it's trying to figure out how to get more parts off that machine tool, right? How to get more parts through your machine. You know what I mean? How to get more parts out the door. And I think there's a number of different ways to do that. And it doesn't have to be just a robot loading and unloading a part into a fixture as well too. So I think it's opportunities, and that's one of the things we're really working on right now within our own shop and helping to develop products that customers could use as well too for their own facilities as well.
Imagine machines running throughout the night while you sleep. No overtime, no extra shifts, just pure productivity. That's the power of lights out manufacturing. And on Lights Out, we show you just how to make that a reality. Join us as we break down automation, robotics, and high efficiency machining so you can produce more, work less, and increase your bottom line. Subscribe to Lights Out today and start scaling your shop the smart way. Let's dig into that a little bit. What have you found to be the most effective, for milling or turning or just different ways to create automation in your shop? And how has that turned into products that you're trying to sell to customers?
Yeah, yeah. So, like I said, I look at it, and we always call it machine tending because I think again, machine tending can be during the day shift when you sit down there, have mobile people running a machine. If you can set that machine up and let it run for 8 hours and have the other guy go somewhere else and do something, there's a number of opportunities that you can really reinvest your own business because you can now have because we're all short on people today, and there's an opportunity for us to sit down there and really utilize that facility in different ways, and the people you have that are skilled to reallocate them under different machines and setups as well too. So a couple of things we've done. One is we actually have, we've started with a manual 5-axis vise, and the jaws on there can be easily changed over. So you can take a manual vise that we've developed and we use in our own shop, and you can change the jaws out to put them on. So if you have a machinable jaw, you can take them on, put them in a pneumatic or a hydraulic vise now at this point without having to reinvest in new jaws. Then if you wanted to, you could have a robot load and unload in there. But we also have the ability we have a 0-point system that you can put on the end of our manual vise. So now you can actually have a robot grab the whole vise and load it into a machine as well too. So there's options there. We also have been started creating, we call it no robot, no problem, where we have an in-gripper spindle solution that you can sit down there, close the machine tool doors. So you don't have to have any safety mechanisms. Your normal programming can work with these as well too. And you can grab a part on one side of the machine table and load it in and out of maybe a pneumatic or hydraulic vise as well too. So you can close that door, have raw material on one side, have your fixture on the other side, and you can now sit down there and program your robot to set up as well too to load and unload a part. So there's options like that that are out there. I also think we've invested in a number of things in our own shop. We got a Fasten system that use it, or we've partnered with people who have, large pallet systems like Matsura. They've got pallets that you can load and unload. So you can have 32 pallets. We have a Fasten system that has tombstones that can run 30 different tombstones and setups in there. So it's on a railroad tracks. It loads into two of our different Akuma machines. So we have a number of opportunities in our own shop. And then we obviously make pallets for Matsura. We make, tombstones for also for, fasten systems. So we have that ability to help outfit fixtures for you as well too in those facilities.
So you make some of the OEM, you supply OEMs with things that they then sell on their machines. Is that what I understood there?
No, Matsura has so in our own facility, we have a 32 pallet Matsura machine
Yep. Yep.
center. So we'll make pallets, a quick change pallets that go on to those things. So you can put a vise on there. It's a 52 and 96 millimeter pallet that you can easily change over there. We build them with pyramids so you have more, one, two, or three. These are all ways in which you can get more parts off your machine, running it unattended if you can set it up with those combinations. We've started partnering with Hennig out there as well too. And,
Yeah.
and they're using a lot of their new machine pallet systems. So they're using those pallets to load fixtures or vices or, different types of
That's the
solutions.
workflow, right?
Yeah, for workflow. Yeah, the workflow system as
S-
well too.
Oh, I don't think I realized they were going to have your pellets on them.
Yeah,
That's
so
cool.
well, our
That's
vices on there as
awesome.
well too. Yeah, so we've got a
Nice.
number of solutions and partners that we work with like that that can,
Okay.
those are to me all automation machine tending solutions that's going to get more parts out of your factories, out of your shops, by using those type of solutions that are out there. And I think there's a number of, and we are not an integrator. We don't want to be an integrator. We want to have the fixturing that all these different integrators can utilize. We want to be the experts in fixturing and work holding to help support all those integrators, all these machine tool guys, all these palletized systems, whether it be like I said, Fastums, Hennig, Triag, all those guys that are out there. We can really help support them.
Hmm. Yeah, I love how you described a little bit ago of if you can free someone up for several hours, that well, first of all, that probably gets them from doing a job that isn't all that much fun, just loading a machine all day long, and get them into doing something more value added for the business, reinvesting in something, possibly just running more machines or doing some kind of activity that requires that sort of human intelligence, that creativity to, move the business forward rather than just being sort of a human robot, swapping out parts all day long.
The other thing that I think, every shop is looking for talent, right? And every shop has their
All of
high-end
them.
talent, their middle talent, and their entry-level people that are just coming into the factories, right? I think the other advantage of some of these solutions allows you to sit down there and, use modular fixturing to help, obviously self-service, we sell modular fixturing, but, it helps you to sit down there and design solutions so you can take maybe some of the talent that's just learning the business or getting into the industry and have them say, hey, it's easier for you to load and unload parts or unload a fixture. And again, you can unload a fixture that can be optimized by Jergens, and you can sit down there and have the ability to change over that fixture very easily and quickly, and let it run for 2 hours or 3 hours, but then you can have your higher end talent go work on the more complicated jobs. They can work on the ones that don't require 8 hours of machining and setup, but they need the more setup and requirements and programming and watching and, so I think it's an opportunity for you to really use your talent in different ways if you can try to find ways to have your modular fixturing throughout your facility.
Yep. Yep. Good stuff. Yeah, we need everyone to kind of lean into those ideas and maximize the throughput potential of their own business.
Yep.
It's such a huge lever, especially compared to the complexities of like adding other shifts and uh, that's just more. I mean, that is potentially just a difficult staffing challenge. But if you can really maximize your uptime with more automation,
But
it's a great way to do it.
But even if you can just optimize your subs so you can get 2 extra hours every single
Hmm.
day, the 2 hours a day, you're talking about 10 hours a week, you're talking about 5,000 hours, a year. You can get, extra hours off your machine. How many more parts can you make in that time frame as well too? And I think those are the little things that people it doesn't have to be all lights out, running 8 hours at night all the time. That's
Sure.
not the idea of what you're trying to do. These small little improvements is where you kinda start from and build from, and I think it helps every shop out.
Yeah. Yeah. Great point. All right. I'd love to move to some of the sort of best strategic moves you guys have ever made. Again, growing to the size you've grown to is not a small feat, and many businesses try it, and very few get there. So, what are some of the things you guys feel like you've done the best
Yeah.
over the years?
Yeah, yeah, I think again, from our standpoint, um, we really try listening to our customers the most we can do, right? And I think again, we've always had that yes mindset, I would always describe it as. So as an organization, we're always trying to say when a customer calls us, it's not the, no, it's yes, let me see how I can do and help support you in those areas. I mean, I think that's where Jergens has really developed and find new opportunities, whether it be with the aerospace fasteners we've talked about and moving into that whole market. I mean, it's interesting too. I'll tell you this: one of the biggest customers we actually get into, even on those aerospace fasteners, is in the entertainment industry. So if you ever go and find, those speakers hanging next to a concert, you know,
Hmm.
all those speakers are held together with Jergens pins as well too. So we find
Mm,
new markets, almost by hopefully trying to again produce a good quality part and just saying yes and listening to customers and responding to what they're asking for as well too.
hmm. How have uh, how have customer feedback specifically turned into like new product ideas or even new product categories that came from a request or an inquiry that like, hey, we need a better way to do this thing or that thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. A few years back, I would tell you that I think, one of the biggest products we came out with, that was really a patented product that we came out with that I thought was interesting, is we also make a lot of lifting hardware or hoist strings and stuff. So if you go to any factory, you'll see an eye bolt that's bent over or one that's not properly torqued down or locked in place as well too. So we developed this, we call it our lift check, and what this lift check does is it has a color changing die in the top of the head of the bolt, where as you tension the bolt up and turn it from loose to tight, it turns from red to black. So you can know that it's good to lift. So you can look around and see from a safety manager standpoint, you can say, hey, these are all safe to lift. So you can hopefully support those applications as well too. So these are some of the products we've developed to help support uh, you know, applications and customers where they maybe had challenge or subs, and I think it's one of the cool things. Even from the we talked earlier a little bit about our vices. We fully recognize that people want to continue to advance in on that machine tending and automation. So we start with a manual vice that can be upgraded, changing those jaws from, manual vice to a pneumatic or hydraulic. So as your production increases, or as you're sitting down there wanting to increase your production, we have solutions where you're not throwing out your whole vice. You can utilize what's already on the market with things you've already invested in as well too. So I think that was trying to look at the customers and say, where is the industry changing and how can we invest and help support them as well too.
Hmm. Oh, that's cool. I like that. How does the fastener work where it turns colors?
So it measures the tension actually in the end of the bolt. And so
Yeah.
what basically as it measures the tension that bolt stretches out, the color changing dye in the top of it changes from red to black. And it's a really cool
Wild.
situation. So it's a really cool, it's called lift check. It's really neat. And we actually we sell in two ways. One is we say, hey, it's a safety mechanism. So you know your part is locked down because whenever you're lifting something heavy, flipping a die, moving a tombstone. And if the tension is here, you put undue stress into the bolt. So if it's not properly tightened down,
Mm-hmm.
but the other big thing about it too is you're supposed to do a torque wrench to it. Most people don't do torque wrenches. So,
Yep.
but it's also from a cost saving. You don't have to calibrate your torque wrench. You just go find your torque wrench. You can use an open end box wrench to tighten it down as well too. And if you'd
Hmm.
like me to, Paul, I can send you a couple videos if you want to pop them on there at the end as well too. It'd be just if
That's
people want to see
cool.
how it works. Pretty cool.
Huh. That's quite an innovation. Neat. Um, so you clearly work with shops all around the country. Your products are pretty ubiquitous. When you have seen some of those small job shops, contract manufacturers grow, as I'm sure you have over years, what would you say is some maybe common things they're doing well that you might advise other small shops out there if they want to continue to grow and get better and have success? What have you seen? Maybe that's common across the most successful shops you serve.
Yeah, I would recommend them to find their niche. What is it that separates them from their competition? You know what I mean? And then I'd start building a great team, right? Understand what your core values are, what you're trying to produce. As we kind of described in the Jergens family, what does it mean to elevate everyone in your circle, right? What is your niche and how can you elevate your circle around you? You know, as you walk that floor and you say thank you and connect with your employees, it's trying to find ways that you can help them, you know, individuals and their customers go above and beyond, right? I think that net niche is really what helps to separate you. And if you can understand that and then communicate that out to your customers, your employees, your suppliers, those are all such great things that's going to help you really grow as an individual, as a business. I think that's great ways to find what I see in those up and coming job shops I think are great.
Hmm. That's great advice. Yeah, we've certainly had that theme come up a number of times, and it just keeps coming back because it's just so true. So I appreciate you reinforcing that.
Yep.
Um, well, Matt, this has been such a great conversation. If people want to learn more about Jurgens or just connect with you, where would you direct them to?
Yeah, yeah, I'm on all social medias, LinkedIn, Facebook. You can find Jurgens at www.jurgensinc.com. Don't go to www.jurgens.com or else you're going to find a hand lotion soap, and you don't want that. You want the work holding and stuff. and the fasteners and the lifting stuff. So, but happy to connect with anybody. We've got a great team of engineers, whether it be aerospace engineers or whether it be work holding engineers that would be happy to work with you on your projects or subs and help you within your facility to find ways to increase your productivity.
Awesome, Matt. Well, thank you. And just to reiterate how we started, it was it was really nice to just spend a few hours with you out on the golf course. You're, clearly a humble guy. Seems like your family's business is just a really positive one. And as I said, you don't last 80 years if you're not doing things right. So appreciate you sharing your wisdom today. Hopefully, we inspired some metalworking nation out there today. And yeah, thanks so much for being on the show. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Paul. Appreciate the time.